Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister out of my house? For telling my husband he's so lucky to be rich? My husband lost both of his parents when he was 17. Their deaths were preventable, and others died alongside them. Because of this, a lawsuit followed, and at a young age my husband found himself orphaned but wealthy. But I think we can all understand that this money wasn't some great thing that he celebrated because it came at a huge loss for him, his parents. We met a few years after he was awarded the money, and we got married after dating for 4 years. We're now the proud parents of our 3 kids, and we have a stable life. We're very comfortable, and few people know exactly how much my husband actually has. He's very smart with his money and not only invests, but plans for our future and the future of each of our children. We both still work very hard, but the money means we are also very fortunate. My family, parents and sister, is aware that my husband's parents are dead. They also know about the lawsuit and that money was paid to the family members. They have no idea how much my husband has. Not my parents, and definitely not my sister. But they know and were told how he'd give it all away to have his parents back. Which is why I reacted strongly when my sister made the comment she did. We had my family over for dinner. My sister mentioned wanting to bring her boyfriend for any future dinners, and everyone was talking about that. Then my sister mentioned wanting to go away with her boyfriend for the weekend and how they were saving up to go. She said it was a big step because they were also talking about moving in together. My husband mentioned we had gone to the place they were talking about going to and that they'd have a great time. She said she hoped so, but that she wouldn't have the same kind of money he does. He told her we did nothing fancy there, which is 100% true. My parents wanted to know when they were thinking of moving in together. Things were going fine. Then my sister, out of nowhere, said to my husband that the least he could do was offer them the money for the weekend away, since he could afford it. I shut her down and said she wasn't entitled to other people paying for her trips with her boyfriend. My sister responded that he could afford to send them for a month if he wanted to. My husband told her that was a big ask, and she snapped at him and said he had no idea how lucky he was to be rich, because she'd give anything to have that kind of money. The insensitivity of the comment enraged me, and I told my sister she needed to leave. I made sure to get her butt out that door too, because I wasn't tolerating that BS. My sister has told me almost every day since that I overreacted, and that throwing her out was over the top. I told her I don't want to hear anything but a sincere apology from her to my husband. And until that point, she can stay out of my house. My husband said I didn't need to stand by that, and that he didn't want to come between us. I told him he wasn't coming between us, she was. Am I the a-hole for my actions, and am I being too harsh here? I just think that comment is downright cruel and vicious, when you consider my husband had to be orphaned to get that money. Now for the top comments. Absolutely not the a-hole. Your sister is basically having a death wish for your parents for that kind of money. Despicable. Agree, she is only thinking about money the moment she said give anything for that money. Not the a-hole. Must be nice being rich. Must be nice having loving parents that care about you and are there for you. Not if those parents can't fund your month-long vacation with a boyfriend you haven't even moved in with yet. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my stepsister my half of her mother's life insurance? I'm posting this for my husband. So, my husband, 47 male, had a stepmom who was 81 and just recently passed at the beginning of March. His father, to whom she was married, passed away when my husband was 19. He died of cancer and knew it was coming, so he revised a will for his then wife and only child, my husband. The will was a little unusual. It stated that the home my husband's father owned would belong to both my husband and his current wife. However, his wife would be allowed to be the sole resident until she passed or decided to move out. Then the sole ownership would go to my husband. His wife was not allowed to will the home to her children or relatives. I'm not sure the term for this. It's like she owned it, but didn't fully own it. The reason behind this was that my husband's father was rather vindictive. He didn't care for his ex-wife very much, my husband's mother, and he didn't like his own stepkids either. So in the chance he passed while my husband was still under the age of 18, His ex-wife would have no sway over his son or the house, seeing as his current wife would have it, and her kids would never have it, as when she passed, it would go to my husband. When his father passed, his stepmother gathered a few of his things up in garbage bags and left them on the porch of his dad's house for him, and wouldn't let him inside. She also wouldn't let him have his TV, his pictures, his video games, or his childhood toys. He's sure those went to her grandkids. He said that was the last time she spoke to him, and her last words to him were, "The TV stays." So that was 28 years ago. Now to today. His stepmother died. Her daughter, 60s female, tried, unsuccessfully, to get half the house. She has no claim, according to the lawyers she spoke to. So there's now a little bad blood between her and my husband, but he's trying to remain amicable. Her mother just passed, and while he didn't like her, it was still her mother. However, we were contacted by his late stepmother's insurance company. Because she didn't name a beneficiary on the policy, my husband is entitled to half the payout. We don't know how much it is yet. His stepsister is furious and thinks it's unfair. She wants my husband to collect his half and give it to her. He is torn. He knows his stepmother kept all of his father's life insurance, even though she was trusted to give some to him. She kept most of his belongings and kept him out of his father's home. So he's bitter. Legally, the money is his, but he feels like morally it might not be. His stepmother hated him, and she would have never named him on her policy. Would he be the a-hole if he kept the money? Morally and legally, the money is his. Keep the money and just block the stepsister, not the a-hole. Yep, this. Screw her. She tried to take the house from him, so she has shown she would take it all if she could. So the stepmother got to live in a house that wasn't really hers for 28 years. She kept all of the contents, other than what she wanted rid of, the life insurance, and shut the son, OP's husband, out for nearly 3 decades. Assuming the stepsister was also a non-entity in his life based on the post. So it's time to remove the emotion from it. Be cold. This is what the black and white of it is. House is owned by OP's husband. Half the life insurance is owned by OP's husband. You can say plead, beg, threaten, whatever, but that's the plain and simple truth. In a case like this, you need to remove the emotion and just go with what's on paper, then move on. Sometimes that can be morally ambiguous, but not this time. There is no ambiguity in this at all. Take the house, take the money, move on. Not the a-hole. We haven't heard from stepsister until recently, when her mother started actively dying. She started reaching out then about plans for the house, which my husband doesn't have any plans yet. The emotions are raw, and he's hoping some of his old photos are in the house. He wants to be able to go through his father's things if any are left, and then decide what to do. She was pushing him to sell and split the money with her immediately. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my sister-in-law if she wanted to unalive my son just to prove she could get him to not have an allergic reaction in a specific restaurant? I, 33 male, am a stay-at-home dad. My wife and I have 3 children, Cal, 7, Tilly, 4, and Ro, 18 months. Cal is close in age to 2 of his cousins, aka sister-in-law's kids. One is in the same grade and class at school as him, and the other is just a year older. Sister-in-law typically takes her kids out to eat after school on Fridays, and also takes them window shopping and to an arcade. My wife and I let him go one time, and at the time sister-in-law said she didn't really know where they'd go to eat. We asked her to avoid a specific restaurant for Cal's sake. He has nut allergies and experiences different levels of reactions depending on his proximity to nuts. This particular restaurant uses nuts in basically everything and uses a lot of nut oils while cooking. We went there as a family a little over a year ago after being told they took allergies very seriously and had substitutions and very good standards for keeping allergens away from meals when needed. But the exposure while we were there still caused a reaction, and we left without eating because it wasn't worth it. We explained this to her, but she still took them there and said she was extra careful. Cal still ended up being sick while there as a result of the allergy. It wasn't anaphylaxis, but it angered both my wife and me. Sister-in-law apologized and said she truly didn't see it as a big issue. My wife told her sister we had already explained we'd gone there and he had a reaction. Sister-in-law said she figured she could take extra precautions, and my wife told her she should have accepted that we didn't want him there and found somewhere else, or not taken him at all. Turns out sister-in-law and her kids always go to this restaurant. They know it'll happen, even though she asks about 4 or 5 other places nearby. Which is why I don't want my son to join them on Fridays for their outings. Sister-in-law told me she wants to start taking Cal again, and her kids would love it. And since they're all so close in age, it makes sense. I told her I couldn't allow it, because I know where she takes them to eat, and it's not safe for Cal. Sister-in-law argued that they could end up somewhere else, and that she learned her lesson. I asked if that meant 100% she wouldn't go to that restaurant or order food from there. She said she didn't have to. I told her that wasn't a definitive confirmation that she'd avoid it. She talked to my wife about it, and my wife agreed with me. Sister-in-law said we're denying the kids precious cousin time, and that Cal would be well taken care of. We said the safety of our son is number one. Sister-in-law said I didn't give her a second chance to prove she had learned. And I told her she thought she had learned how to avoid it last time too. I said we don't have a lot of rules for taking our kids, but the health and safety aspect is something I won't ignore. I told her she could have always taken him for the window shopping and arcade and dropped him home if she wanted time. She said she would feel like a monster leaving him out of the meal, and that she could figure out a way to make everyone safe and happy. I told her I didn't trust her to avoid that place, and she wasn't winning my trust on that with anything. I asked her if she wanted to kill Cal just to prove she could take him there without a reaction, while we can't. She called me a bastard and said I was making it sound significantly worse than it is, that all she wanted was to include him, and she was willing to find a way. She said I was basically calling her an evil monster and it wasn't fair. She tried to complain to my wife about what I said, but my wife backed me up and told her she wasn't reassuring us well, and she had the same concerns. Sister-in-law complained to her husband next, and he told me I went too far, and that saying she wanted to kill Cal was unfair. Maybe it was, but since she ignored the concerns we had and the past 2 incidents at the restaurant, I can't stop wondering how seriously she's taking this. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Am I missing something? After the first mistake, all she had to do was categorically promise you that she would not take your son to that restaurant again or order food there. Instead, she gave a non-committal answer and no reassurance for you. This is on her. You are not the a-hole. She is, though. Sounds like she's one of those people who don't believe allergies are serious. Sadly, there's a lot of them out there who just assume, it's just a rash. It won't kill you. I am also allergic to nuts, especially peanuts. When I was very young, like a teenager, my older sister, who knew I was allergic to nuts, cooked our fish in peanut oil. I had a severe reaction and had to be hospitalized overnight. Her excuse for using peanut oil was that she didn't think cooking in peanut oil was the same as eating peanuts or peanut butter. The truth is, she never believed I was allergic and was always trying to sneak peanuts into anything I ate. Now she overdoes it. At potlucks, she will make a sarcastic attempt to be mean by saying, "Any nuts? Any nuts? You know X can't eat nuts. No oil either." I know she's being mean because she's a person who never got over me going to the hospital. People who don't believe in allergies are a danger to those of us who have severe reactions. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to speak to my ex-fiancé before he died? Alright, I, 31 female, dated my ex Nico, 33 male, for 5 years, from 18 to 23. We were engaged, living together, and planning our future. I was pregnant, and I thought we had a great relationship. We sometimes had our ups and downs, but I never saw what happened coming. Basically, I discovered he was cheating on me a month before the wedding. He cheated on me with one of my closest friends, and some of my friends knew and didn't tell me. One finally broke down and decided to tell me everything. Needless to say, I was not only devastated, but angry and confused. I couldn't manage to understand the situation, and I was so overwhelmed because I didn't know how to even begin to deal with it. But I understood that the healthiest choice for me was to just disappear and start over somewhere else. And that's what I did. I blocked him and the friends who knew and didn't tell me, even the one who had told me, because she had kept it from me for over 2 months, and I didn't trust her. I deleted my social media, changed my number, and canceled all the wedding stuff behind his back. I also took all our money from our savings account and sold the ring. All the stress caused me to have a miscarriage, and no one knew about this because I had gone back to my hometown and was staying at a hotel. I literally didn't tell anyone I was leaving, but I did tell one of my former friends that he should tell Nico I had a miscarriage. I have no family, and back then, I knew I couldn't trust the people I called friends, so I chose to just keep everything to myself. I spent over a year traveling around Europe and Asia, and I finally settled in Ireland since I have nationality there thanks to my dad. I'm from South America, to clarify. I still had money thanks to my inheritance, and I bought a small apartment for myself and started working. I surrounded myself with some good new friends, started therapy, and I had multiple casual relationships. But it wasn't until I met Alex, 31 male, who's also from my country, that I fell in love again. I met him when I was 27, and it took me a while to trust him, but we eventually got serious. We got married last year, and early this year we moved back to our country. So, I started using social media eventually. My former friends and ex hadn't found out about it at first, but one of them eventually did. And they started sending me thousands of texts, especially my ex, who kept asking for us to have a simple talk, saying he still loved me, that he regretted everything, and hadn't been able to move on. This happened 3 years ago, and I chose to send one text to my ex telling him that I didn't hate him or resent him, but that he was just a part of my past, and as he knew, for me the past needs to stay buried. I once wanted to be with him for the rest of my life, but now I'm aware that he was not who I thought he was. And although our relationship taught me that people are not always who they seem to be, and I shouldn't trust people so easily, I see now that I wasted many years of my youth with him, and that's just it. I told him I was in love with someone else and not to try to talk to me again because he would never see my face in person again. And that was the end of it. After that, I blocked them all and put my account on private. Now, back to the present. I reconnected with one of my friends from the past, Melissa. She didn't know about the affair and had lost contact with our former group of friends because she didn't trust them due to what they did to me. She told me she had tried to contact me but had no idea how to do it. Although she's not friends with everyone else from before, she's still friends with one of Nico's cousins, who was never close with him but had always been pretty sad. From her, she found out that Nico was sick with cancer and wanted to speak to me. She told me that, according to Nico's cousin, he had no chance of making it, and he just wanted to speak to me. Melissa told me to do whatever felt right, and so did my husband, and I agreed. I decided not to speak to him and just told Melissa she should tell Nico's cousin that I didn't want to speak to Nico. My reason is simple. I put everything in the past. I healed from that situation. It was hard, but I did. I don't need closure, and I know I don't owe him anything. I have no feelings toward him. So, I recently found out from Melissa that Nico passed away. Now, his family is furious at me. They can't get to my social media accounts, but they got to my husband's. They told him that I was just a bitter witch, who couldn't even grant the wish of a dying man to just speak to me. That's all he wanted. Alex just blocked all those accounts and put his account on private for a while, and told me not to let them get to me, that I did nothing wrong. Although I truly didn't wish to speak with Nico, didn't have anything to say to him, and didn't want to hear anything from him either, I've begun to wonder if I should have just listened to what he had to say, just so that he would go without holding anything in. But I don't know if I truly believe that, or if I've just let the creeps from his family get to me. I don't know. Am I the a-hole? How is it that Melissa didn't know about the affair, but she somehow knew that your friends all knew about the affair and didn't tell you? Melissa cut them off after it was all discovered. I assume that after I was gone, they had to explain why I had disappeared. Not the a-hole. You already put the past behind of you. You moved on, and you didn't owe him anything.